I'm 70, I'm avoiding people now. Here's why. Hello friends, turning 70 is a milestone one I never thought I'd reach so quickly. One moment you're in your 20s full of plans and energy, and the next you're waking up in a body that feels different every day with memories spanning decades. Life changes priori, and as I've got older, I've noticed something surprising about myself. I've started to avoid people. This wasn't always the case. I used to be incredibly social, always surrounded by friends and family, and being the person everyone relied on, but somewhere along the line something changed. At first, I thought it was just me. Now I'm realizing it might be more common than I thought. Friends and family, attending events, helping out in the community, and being the person everyone could rely on. But somewhere along the way something changed. At first I thought it was just me, now I realize it might be more common than I thought. Let me explain why. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. A moment feels more precious than ever. At 70, I find myself thinking about time in a way I never did before. It's not just about the time I've spent, it's about the way I've spent my life. It's not just the ticking of the clock or the turning of the calendar, it's the undeniable realization that time is finite. When I was younger, time felt abundant, like an endless river flowing towards an unknowable horizon. I wasted it freely, believing there were always more hours to be spent on idle chatter, relationships that went nowhere, and tasks that brought little joy or meaning. It's in the quiet mornings when I sit with my coffee and watch the sunrise, savoring the warmth of the cup in my hands. It's in the afternoons when I take long walks, feeling the crunch of the leaves under my feet, grateful for the strength left in my legs. And it's in the evenings when I sit in my favorite chair and reflect on the memories of a life well lived. I used to fill my time with people and activities, thinking that the more I did, the fuller my life would feel, but I've learned that the opposite is true. It's not about how much you do or how many people you surround yourself with, it's about the quality of those experiences and relationships. Now I choose carefully where and with whom I spend my time. I'd rather have a quiet conversation with someone who really understands me than attend a crowded gathering where I feel like a stranger in a sea of faces. The truth is, I've become very protective of my time because I've realized how irreplaceable it is. When you're young, you think there's always tomorrow to fix a mistake, rekindle a friendship, or chase a dream, but as you get older, you realize there are fewer tomorrows than you'd like to admit. This doesn't make me sad, it makes me purposeful. I don't waste hours on meaningless drama, shallow conversations, or commitments that don't align with my values. Instead, I invest my time in what really matters: my health, my passions, and the people who bring light into my life. There is a deep peace in this shift. I no longer feel guilty about saying no to things that don't serve me. I no longer feel the need to explain myself when I choose solitude over socializing. It's not that I don't value relationships, in fact I value them more than ever, but my focus has changed. I want my connections to be genuine, my conversations to be meaningful, and my days to feel full, not just busy. I want my days to feel full, not just busy. Time at this stage of my life is also about letting go of regrets over wasted moments, letting go of resentments that once seemed important, and letting go of the need to do it all. I've learned that it's okay to slow down and just be there. There's no rush anymore. No race to the finish line. The best moments are not in the big achievements, but in the small quiet joys: a favorite song, a warm breeze, a heartfelt laugh. So yes, time feels more precious than ever. But it also feels richer. I've stopped chasing it and started savoring it, and in doing so I've found a kind of contentment I never knew was possible. At 70, I don't want to waste a single moment, not because I'm afraid of running out, but because I've finally understood what a gift it really is. Two relationships change, and so do we as the years go by. Relationships change in ways you might never expect. I've come to accept that not all relationships are meant to last forever, and that's okay. What I've learned is that the people who stay in your life during this stage are often the ones who really matter. When I was younger, relationships were everything. I surrounded myself with friends, colleagues, neighbors, and acquaintances, always trying to stay connected and be part of something bigger. I remembered every birthday, showed up to every event, and tried to make everyone happy, but over time I realized how much energy it took to maintain relationships that didn't always nurture me in return. Life has a way of naturally breaking down the branches of your social tree. People move away, get busy, or change in ways that make it hard to stay connected. Some relationships end in heartbreak, others just with time. Now I understand that life's journey pulls us all in different directions. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and recognizing which is which has brought me a sense of peace. But it's not just others who change, we change too. I'm not the same person I was at 40 or even 60, my priorities have shifted. I value simplicity, kindness, and authenticity more than ever. I don't have the patience for drama or relationships that feel one-sided. I used to think that being there for everyone made me a good friend or family member, but I've realized that true relationships are reciprocal. They don't drain you, they fill you. Some of the most profound lessons I've learned about relationships have come through heartbreak, trust broken by people I cared about, loyalty that wasn't reciprocated, or kindness that was taken for granted. All of these experiences left scars, but they also taught me how to set boundaries, how to spot red flags, and most importantly, how to value my own well-being. And yet, even with these lessons, I sometimes feel a pang of nostalgia for the relationships that have faded, a friend who was once like a sibling but whom I haven't spoken to in years, a family member whose life has taken a different path. It's bittersweet to look back on these connections, but I've come to appreciate them for what they were, precious moments in time that helped shape me into the person I am today. 3. Trust becomes more complicated as you get older, and you realize how fragile it can be. In my younger years, I trusted easily, believing in the goodness of people and their intentions, but as life unfolded, I encountered betrayal in ways that made me more cautious. I've been let down by people I never expected to hurt me, by a friend who turned out to be more interested in what I could do for him than in who I was, by a business partner who put their profit before our shared vision, even by family members who, for reasons I may never fully understand, have distanced themselves in ways that have left me wondering what went wrong. I chose the latter, but that caution comes at a price. When someone new comes into my life, my first instinct is not excitement or curiosity, but suspicion. I find myself wondering what they want, what their motive is. It's not a mindset I enjoy, but one born of necessity. But I've also learned that trust is not just about others, it's about trusting yourself. Trusting yourself, trusting your instincts when something doesn't feel right, trusting your ability to walk away from toxic people, no matter how long they've been in your life, and trusting that it's okay to protect your heart, even if it means keeping your distance. Still, trust is a complicated thing. I've met people in recent years who have restored my faith in humanity, if only a little, a kind stranger who helps me when I drop something in the shop, a neighbor who checks in on me in bad weather. These moments remind me that while trust may be harder to give now, it's not impossible at this stage of life. I've come to terms with the fact that trust will always be a delicate balance. It's not about building walls so high that no one can climb them, it's about creating gates strong enough to keep out harm, but open enough to let in love, kindness, and connection when it feels right. Ultimately, relationships and trust have become simpler. In their complexity. I cherish the few people I trust wholeheartedly and keep my boundaries firm with those who don't deserve it, and though I may never trust as easily as I once did, I have come to value the relationships I do have even more deeply. At 70, that feels like a gift worth cherishing, for the world feels different now. At 70, the world feels like a very different place to the one I grew up in. It's not just the pace of life that has changed, it's the pace of life that has changed. It's not just the pace of life that's changed, it's the very fabric of how we interact with each other. Sometimes I look around and wonder where the warmth and simplicity of human connection has gone. I grew up in a time when neighbors were like extended family. We knew each other by name, dropped by unannounced for a cup of coffee, and offered help before anyone had to ask. Families got together regularly, not out of obligation but out of genuine love and joy. There was an ease in those relationships, a sense of belonging that didn't require constant reminding. A sense of belonging that didn't require constant effort to maintain, but now it seems everyone is so busy chasing something, success, recognition, or just keeping up with the demands of modern life. People don't visit each other like they used to. Conversations have become rushed, as if we're all racing against an invisible clock. Even within families, connections sometimes feel thinner, stretched by distance, both physical and emotional. Technology, for all its conveniences, has played a part in this. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for the ability to video call my grandchildren or keep in touch with old friends via social media, but at the same time I can't help but feel that these screens have created barriers between us. There's something irreplaceable about sitting across from someone, hearing the nuances in their voice, and feeling the warmth of their presence. The world I see today often feels unrecognizable, with priorities that seem so far removed from what I was taught to value: honesty, kindness, and community. It's not that these values have disappeared entirely, but they are harder to find amidst the noise of self-promotion and endless competition. I often long for the simplicity of the past, not because I'm resistant to change, but because I miss the depth of genuine human connection. Back then, relationships felt more grounded, less transactional, people weren't constantly distracted, and there was an unspoken understanding that time spent together was precious. Yet I also recognize that nostalgia can sometimes paint the past in softer colors than it deserves. Life has never been perfect, and every era has its challenges, but as the world moves forward, I found myself retreating, not out of bitterness, but out of a desire to be present. In my younger years, I used to equate being alone with being lonely. The thought of spending an evening alone seemed unbearable, as if solitude was something to be avoided at all costs. But now I have come to understand that solitude is not something to fear, but something to cherish. There is a profound difference between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness is an emptiness, a longing for connection that feels out of reach. At 70, I've found that some of the happiest moments in my life come from simply being still, letting the world fade into the background as I focus on the here and now. In solitude, I've rediscovered the joy of simple pleasures. With a cup of tea, watching the birds flit around the feeder, feeling the warmth of the sun on my face during a morning walk, listening to the crackle of the fire on an old evening, these moments, however small, fill me with a sense of peace that no crowded room or busy event could ever provide. At this stage of my life, memories are becoming both a comfort and a teacher. I find myself revisiting moments from the past, not out of regret, but out of gratitude for the experiences that have shaped me. In the quiet of my own thoughts, I have been able to make peace with the things I once struggled to understand. This doesn't mean that I have completely cut myself off from the world. I still enjoy seeing my grandchildren's faces light up when they visit, catching up with old friends, or getting involved in causes that are important to me. But these connections feel more meaningful now because I have chosen to make them. Solitude has also helped me to appreciate the relationships that remain when I do spend time with others. I am fully present, savoring the moments we share. There is no rush, no distraction, just the joy of being together, however briefly. I think solitude teaches you to love yourself in a way that no amount of external validation could ever do. It shows you that your worth is not tied to how many people surround you or how busy your social calendar is. I've learned that solitude is not a sign of loneliness, it's a sign of strength. It's a choice to step away from the noise, to protect your peace and focus on what really matters. I have found a happiness that is deeper and more enduring than I ever imagined. 6. Why I avoid people now at this stage of my life. Avoiding people is not about bitterness or resentment, it's about peace. After 7 decades of giving, learning, and sometimes hurting, I have come to understand that not every relationship is meant to last. Not every relationship is meant to last, and not every connection is worth the energy it takes to maintain. It's a lesson that's both liberating and bittersweet, one I've learned not out of sadness but out of necessity. For most of my life I was the kind of person who put others first, giving my time, my energy, and my heart freely, often without expecting much in return. I wanted to be liked, to be helpful, to be someone people could depend on, and for a long time that felt right. I thrived on being needed, on showing up for others, on being the steady hand people could count on. But life has a way of teaching you where, or what your boundaries should be, even if it takes decades to learn the lesson. I've been let down by people I trusted, hurt by those I loved and drained by relationships that took far more than they gave. There were times I ignored the red flags because I wanted so badly to see the good in someone. There were times I stayed in situations that chipped away at my happiness because I thought that's what loyalty meant. Now at 70, I see things more clearly. Avoiding people doesn't mean I've given up on humanity, it means I've learned to protect my own well-being. I no longer feel obligated to keep toxic relationships alive or to engage in situations that leave me feeling empty. I've traded the noise of social obligations for the silence of meaningful solitude, and I've never felt more at peace. Who never ask how I'm doing or seem to care about the answer when they do. I avoid people who take my kindness for granted, who assume it's endless, and, most importantly, I avoid situations that make me feel less than who I really am. This is not to say that I've closed myself off completely. I still cherish the relationships that matter, the friends and family who these connections are sacred to me, and I nurture them with all the love I have left to give, but I no longer feel the need to cast a wide net. A smaller, deeper circle is more than enough. In some ways, avoiding people has allowed me to appreciate them more. When I do spend time with others, it's because I really want to, not because I feel obliged to. The conversations are richer, the moments more memorable because they're chosen, not forced. 7. Does this sound familiar? I often wonder if others in my age group feel the same way. When I look back, I realize that much of my younger life was spent trying to live up to other people's expectations. I wanted to be everything to everyone, a good friend, a reliable partner, a supportive family member, but as the years went by I began to see how exhausting it was. I've stopped apologizing for protecting my time and energy, I've stopped feeling guilty for choosing solitude over socializing, and I've stopped wondering if there's something wrong with me for needing space to breathe, reflect, and just be. When you're in your 60s, 70s, or 80s. If you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, you may have found yourself making similar choices. Perhaps you've started to move away from relationships that no longer serve you, or situations that leave you feeling drained rather than fulfilled. Perhaps you've found that you value quality over quantity when it comes to the people in your life. It's not an easy transition. Sometimes it feels like you're letting go of parts of yourself, but the truth is that this stage of life is about letting go of what no longer fits. It's about making space for peace, joy, and the things that really matter. If this resonates with you, I want you to know that you're not alone. Some people thrive in large social circles well into their golden years, and that's wonderful for them. But if you're like me and find comfort and solitude in smaller, deeper connections, that's just as valid. At 70, I've learned that it's okay to let go of what no longer serves you. It's okay to prioritize yourself, to protect your peace and live life on your own terms, and in doing so I've found a kind of freedom I never knew existed, a freedom to be completely unapologetically myself. So if you find yourself pulling away from people or choosing solitude more often, don't see it as a loss, see it as a gain. It's a gift to be able to create a life that feels right for you, even if it looks different from what others expect. What others expect. Here's to this chapter of life, a chapter of reflection, growth, and the courage to live authentically. May we all find the peace we deserve. 8. Embracing this chapter. At 7, I've come to see life not as a series of endings, but as a series of beginnings, each stage bringing its own lessons, challenges, and beauty, and this one is no different. This chapter of life, with its quiet simplicity and deeper reflection, feels like a gift. When you're young, you often live with an urgency, a constant need to do more, to achieve more, to be more. There's a restlessness that drives you forward, fueled by the belief that the future holds endless possibilities, but as you get older, that restlessness fades. It's not about giving up, it's about shifting your focus. This chapter is about simplicity, it's about savoring the small moments that often go unnoticed: the morning light streaming through the window, the laughter of a grandchild, the familiar warmth of a loved one's embrace. These are the moments that keep me grounded. It's also about reflection. At 70, I find myself looking back on my life, not with regret, but with gratitude. There have been triumphs that filled me with pride, mistakes that taught me resilience, and heartbreaks that shaped me in ways I couldn't understand at the time. There is a quiet excitement in knowing that I still have time to create, to learn, and to grow, a time to focus on what brings me joy, whether it's tending a garden, exploring a new hobby, or simply taking time to be still. One of the most beautiful parts of this chapter is the freedom it brings. I no longer feel the need to prove anything or meet some arbitrary standard of success. Instead, I've embraced the idea that just being is enough. This chapter has also taught me the importance of saying no to commitments that drain me, no to relationships that no longer serve me, and no to the pressures of trying to be something I'm not. There's a kind of courage that comes with aging, a willingness to live authentically and unapologetically. I'm no longer afraid of being judged for my choices or misunderstood for my actions. At 70, I've earned the right to prioritize my well-being, to speak my truth, and to live my life. This chapter is also about gratitude for the life I've lived, the people I've loved, and the memories I've made, gratitude for the strength that has carried me through the hard times and the joy that has lit up the good ones, gratitude for the simple fact that I still have more life to live and more lessons to learn. So, what does embracing this chapter really mean? It means accepting the past without clinging to it, embracing the present with open arms and looking to the future with hope. It means finding beauty in the everyday, cherishing the relationships that matter, and letting go of anything that doesn't bring peace. It's not always easy. Not always easy. There are moments of loneliness, of wondering what comes next, of missing the people and the place that once filled my life. But even in those moments there is a quiet strength, a reminder that I have made it this far and that I have everything I need to keep going. At 70, I have come to realize that life is less about the big milestones and more about the small meaningful moments. This chapter, though different from the ones that came before, is in many ways no less important. It feels like the most authentic, the most honest, and the most peaceful part of my journey. Embracing this chapter is not about accepting limitations, it's about celebrating possibilities. It's about honoring the life I've lived while remaining open to whatever comes next, and most of all, it's about living fully, deeply, and unapologetically, one day at a time. Concluding thoughts at 70, life has taught me that it's not about how much you do or have, but about the quality of what you cherish, the moments, the connections, and the peace you carry. I've found joy in simplicity, strength and solitude, and fulfillment in focusing on what really matters. Avoiding people is not about bitterness, it's about protecting the peace I've worked so hard to find. If you're on a similar journey, know that it's okay to choose what feels right for you. This chapter is ours to embrace in whatever way it brings us. The most satisfying thing here is to live authentically and savor every moment we are given. Take care, and thank you for being part of this journey. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now I would love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you have learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey to embracing ourselves. Support each other on this journey to embrace these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with a 1. If not, feel free to comment with a 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.